just like a song. I'm brighter my day. Who'd have believed that you were part of the dream? Now it all seems like years away. You know I can't smile without you. I can't smile without you. I can't laugh, I can't sing. I'm finding it hard to do anything, and I feel sad when you're sad. I feel glad when you're glad. If you only knew what I'm going through, I just can't smile without you.
Hello, what's happened, people? Welcome back to the Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast. Apologies about the circumstances because Tottenham get battered in the North London derby, which is a huge shame. The game means so much to the fans and we didn't turn up, as simple as that. But looking forward, nonetheless, to getting into it because it means we can get stuff off our chest, which definitely needs doing. So joining me to get me through what could be a therapy session, I've got three fantastic guests. Firstly, Wheelsy, you should all know by now, prominent Tottenham content creator, lead thumbnail designer, great at editing thumbnails, so many amazing things. Also, he's owner of Everything Spurs Discord page, which is your 24/7 hub for Spurs fans. Wheelsy, do so much. Thank you, but also appreciate you coming on. Apologies about the circumstances.
No, it's all good. Thank you for having me on. And I want to be the first to say, as it's the first podcast of you being the Gold Award Best Young Content Creator, I want to be the first to congratulate you. It is you to say you don't deserve the award is an understatement. You've carried the channel on your back for several hours over this year, producing content for everyone for so long, and to say you don't deserve it is an understatement. So thank you, mate.
Oh, it's very, very kind of you. Thank you. I mean, there's so many fantastic young creators out there and good to meet some of them, and to win the award means so much. Thank you. It's very, very kind of you. Craig, welcome back onto the podcast. It's been a little while, of course, big part of the Spurs Chat podcast, regular there. How are you doing?
I'm good, Harry. Yeah, congratulations on your award, by the way. Yeah, I'm good. Well, I'm not good really, but yeah, we did a podcast more or less straight after the game yesterday, and it was yeah, it's always difficult, but losing to Arsenal, and especially the manner we did, it was even harder yesterday. So yeah, hopefully better times to come.
Yeah, again, apologies to you for the circumstances about the game. I mean, I knew it would always be difficult, but I didn't think we'd lose 4-1, if I'm honest. But Craig, thank you very much. And James, welcome back onto the podcast. It's been a little while, and I could be wrong, but I believe before you come on today, you had a little bit of a winning streak before coming on. I always need to get you on after we won, so I'm sorry to be the one to break that, but really appreciate you coming on. I hope you're keeping well.
No worries, mate. Good to be back on, and yeah, just to echo what the other lad said. Congrats on the awards, and it was good to meet you in person before the United game, and do a little bit of content and interview and stuff. So yeah, good to be back, although pretty deflated.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, right back at you. It was good to do that. A few little interviews. I mean, how things have changed since then, James. We felt okay, didn't we? When doing that, but now I think it'd be a little bit different, especially if you've done it right now. But thank you as well for coming on. Should be a good one. Like I said, nonetheless, I think defeats are frustrating, but it means you can put across your points reasonably, because there's always more to discuss when there's a defeat. If you're listening via audio, so podcast platform, please do drop us a follow and a 5-star review. If you're listening like on YouTube and you're listening live as well, please like and subscribe. So thank you very much. And you can, of course, listen after on any of these platforms. I would just like to start the podcast by saying thank you to everyone that voted for me, that nominated me for the Football Content Awards. To win that award, like I said, is absolutely fantastic. Really a real pleasure, and met so many amazing people, and people I've collaborated with this year are people also I looked up to at the start of my YouTube journey. So honestly, it is a huge, huge honor, and I do mean that as well. And to anyone that supported my content across 2025. So I will very, very quickly play my speech, because when you win an award in a category, you have to make a speech. So it's a huge honour to do that, and fair to say it come a bit unexpected. So I'll quickly play that, and we'll talk all things Tottenham.
Hi, I won't keep you too long. Thank you very much. I think everyone was nominated and voted me. It's great to be here 3 years in a row. Tottenham won a Bilbao last year, so I said we were right for Tottenham's win this year. So honestly, just feel so grateful. I told myself I don't want to have a phone. beach. You won't need to have this moment, but it's just great to be here. Wish you all a great night. So many fantastic people. And when you start the YouTube journey, you see people, and loads of you here tonight that you look up to, take inspiration from. So to be able to collaborate with some of you this year, over the course of 3 years they've been here, but also share the stage with you, it's just enough for me. That's significant. So thank you very much. Honestly, have a great night. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, so thank you very much. And a big part of that is down to Wheelsy, who works so hard leading with me, the Thumbnails team, and produces some amazing stuff. So, you want a man to thank. It's that one on your screen next to me. But let's talk all things Tottenham then. Unfortunately, I don't often say that, but I will say in this case, unfortunately. Craig, can I kick it off with you? Before we just talk about everything that happened in the game and unpick it, how are you feeling right now? Now, what I would call, the dust has settled a little bit. Is there any different thoughts from maybe straight after the game? Have you calmed about it and thought about it a little?
No, I'm probably exactly the same as when the game finished, to be honest with you. I could understand why he went 3 at the back. I totally got that. But it was the other players in the team and the way he set us up clearly to have a plan A. We didn't have a plan B for when Arsenal scored inevitably. They were always going to score. And we just seemed bereft of ideas when that happened. An XG of 0.00 in the first half, by the way, not a single shot on target. I just thought the performance was terrible. That wasn't a North London derby as we want to see it. There was no aggression. There was no passion. Arsenal, to be honest, didn't get out of third gear. We didn't lay a glove on them. You can't play a North London derby like that. You can't go into a North London derby like that, and you can't set us up in a North London derby like that. You've got to have a go. So I was getting very concerned about the recent performances under Thomas Frank. This has been coached, a lot of this. This is what he wants us to do. Yeah, a bit worried. Look, I get players like Maddison and Kulusevski are out. I get that. But, that's not good enough yesterday at all.
I think it'd be fair to say thank you, Craig. I totally feel the same as you. James, can I come to you again? Same sort of question. How are you feeling right now as a Tottenham fan? What were you over 24 hours after the game?
Yeah, I mean, I've managed to avoid not talking about it much there at work. One of the lads was shouting Arsenal as we got out of the van this morning. That was fun in the rain. But in a way, I'm not surprised. What have we got? 1 win in 2008 at the Emirates. We do it season in, season out at Stamford Bridge, Emirates, Anfield. We just don't show up. It's just, in a way, I'm used to it now. I mean, I know, it's a North London derby, but they're top of the league. They're at the moment they're kind of running away with it, aren't they? City and Liverpool are not up there with them, unfortunately. So I mean, although it was really bad, I'm still not surprised. That we lost like that, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. And I just felt that personally we went there with the aim to get a draw, which is fine. And I agree with Craig, you go with a back 3 or back 5, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. But we had this whole thing, didn't we, under Ange, plan B. And it looked like from early on that if Tottenham conceded, we're in trouble. It always felt like we needed that first goal. And we were only really, let's be honest with you, going to get it by a set piece or a little bit of luck. And we know that, we didn't get any of them, did we? That's the problem. And just felt maybe a little bit too one-dimensional. Wills, did you maybe feel the same looking back that, in hindsight, the game plan makes sense, it looks good, but realistically would have had to score the first goal, which is tough to do at the Emirates?
I mean, any of the week, I think any of us would have taken a draw at the Emirates, but it just unfortunately didn't go the way as planned. The players didn't look like they wanted to be there, to be honest. So to lose to Arsenal in that fashion, 4-1 defeat, very disappointing considering we haven't lost to them by that margin for a while now. So I don't think there was any game plan. It was just don't attack and just defend, and we couldn't even do that. So very disappointed, in my opinion.
Thank you. Let's unpick the action itself then. So 32nd minute, Rodrigo Bentancur was booked, the first player to be booked. So it took 32 minutes for any player in that game to get booked. So not too bad at all. The referee let a lot go in the early stages. But then 36th minute, a deadlock was broken. Let's be honest with you, the goal was coming from Arsenal and it was scored by Leandro Trossard. Wheelsy, can I come back to you? On a firstly focus about that ball that plays him in, who gets assist in the end, Mikel Merino. I mean, that is a superb ball. I think we could talk a lot about what Tottenham could have done better, but the reality is that's a really instinctive and ultimately, isn't it, world-class ball.
Yeah, great ball to Trossard, and I think Trossard hasn't scored this season yet before the game, so it was just very, very disappointing. And a great goal from Trossard as well. It's not really what you want to concede first. And there was a stat saying that Arsenal haven't lost a game when scoring first this season. So the rest of the game was forecasted from that goal, if I'm honest.
100%. Not a good start at all. Craig, can I come back to you on that first Arsenal goal? I mean, for you, I want to focus on Udogie because he's the one that plays everyone on side. How do you view that for you? Is it a case of, it's just unlucky, he's the last man, or has he just got to stay switched on there? I mean, you've got to be expecting these things when you're sitting back. And the reality is, for about 3-4 seconds, he is a lot deeper than everyone else.
Yeah, I wouldn't lay it firmly at Udogie's feet, to be honest with you. I thought that the gap that Eze had, it happened time and time again during the game. If you look at all the goals and freeze frame it on when they get into that final third, there's just so much space around the Arsenal players, certainly on the edge of the box. So where is Paolini and Bentancur? They surely should be picking up the likes of Eze. But he had so much time, that all the players had so much time, so many opportunities. And before that, Vicario had made a save, of course, from Declan Rice. They'd already got in Arsenal. We was unlucky, or they were unlucky not to score, to be honest with you. So Eze scoring, I mean, it's just a icing on the cake, isn't it, really, after that debacle in the summer. We don't get Eze over the line and he scores a hat-trick against us. And, of course, he wanted to prove a point that he went to the right club. And for him, you have to say he did. But it was just bad defending again all round. And that's what winds me up a little bit. We were led to believe that Thomas Frank was a tactician, would make us more solid defensively. And to be fair to him, he has to a degree, definitely. But yesterday, we were all over the place, absolutely all over the place. And we could have played with 14 players, and I think it would have still been the same result, which is really embarrassing to say. It was just the lack of desire, I suppose, throughout that game from all the Tottenham players. They didn't look like they understood what they were being told to do. And I would love to know what that plan was. Like you said, Harry, I think going to the Emirates and getting a 1-1 in the situation we're in wouldn't have been a bad result, or any draw, any draw. But he clearly set us up to not concede. And we obviously conceded. And as soon as we conceded that goal, it was game over for me.
I share that as well. Thank you, Craig. And just the thing I find a little bit baffling, and I know there's probably a lot more to it, and I get little things maybe go wrong, and overall the game plan's ruined. But Frank's not silly. He's a clever man. And I said yesterday, I need to get a few pelters for it, but I do stand by it. I think he's a really good tactical coach. Frank, I think he's a really good in-game, and with his master game plan that's well thought compared to Ange. Just a totally good it's totally different contrast in management, isn't it, really? Frank's what I call a more typical coach. Yes, I think he definitely got it wrong, but we're getting to it a little bit later about Frank's future, what it looks like. Has this added any pressure? How much pressure on him? Because it could be quite a big week. I'm not necessarily saying that he's going to be gone at the end of the week, but in terms of Tottenham's season and the trajectory. But can I come to you, James, on this goal? Do you think as well, I mean, kind of asked the guys all a very similar thing, and that is how important do you think Arsenal getting that first goal was in terms of maybe the momentum of being at home as well, North London derby, but also maybe the way that we set up and the overall game plan. It just meant, didn't it, that we really had to score first, or at least stop them from scoring in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, I was praying that we could get to half time 0-0, but obviously it was a big ask. Like Craig said, they already had that early chance, which right, it's a good save. Vicario's made a good save from Rice, but it's pretty much straight at him. But 3 minutes in, you're thinking this is going to be a long afternoon. And I thought we defended okay, but we're just too deep. You can't go somewhere like that and just absorb pressure for that long. You just can't do it. I mean, Frank might be a good tactician, so to speak, but I don't think he's in the same league as like Mourinho and Conte. So they might be able to go to the Emirates and set up a game plan and do it, but he just doesn't. I haven't got the confidence in him to do the same thing. I mean, the players have got to be accountable as well, but he's been too cautious, too pragmatic, and then when he does change it in the second half, we actually played a little bit of football, albeit only a little bit. But Xavi Simons should be starting that match, and I just don't know what he doesn't seem to know what he wants to do. At least with Ange, it was like, right, we're going all out attack, and that's it. With him, it's like, is he looking too much at the other team? Is he looking too much at what they're going to do, worrying too much about that, being too pragmatic, and should be concentrating on his own team and our strengths and playing to our strengths? In that midfield, no one was getting the ball. It was too deep. There was literally nothing. So as poor as Richarlison has been this season, he had no service. So, it could have been Ronaldo and we wouldn't have got a shot on goal still.
That's the worrying thing. You can't win games or get a result you want because realistically, it's such a tough. I can't state enough how tough a task it is to go to Arsenal, not only get a draw, but to keep a clean sheet. So you've got to think, how are we going to score? And I know we did score from a moment of brilliance from Richarlison, but if we're not going to get that moment of brilliance, I believe we could still be playing now. We just wouldn't even have probably a shot on target or look likely in front of goal. And that is the concerning thing for Spurs fans because, the club motto, isn't it, to dare us to do? It's all about having a go. And Frank, let's be clear, at Brentford, he was an attacking manager, a clever manager who knew when to shut up shop, but his principles are all about the high press and attacking. Again, I don't want to get too much into the later conversation, but where's this high press been? I really haven't seen it to a high level at all. But Wheelsy, I'll come back to you. But the second goal scored by, of course, Eberechi Eze, assisted by Declan Rice in the 41st minute. I mean, Craig mentioned something really interesting earlier about Eze. I mean, we knew he'd be the danger man, and Frank, was kind of like, who's Eze before the game? And it was funny at the time, and it looks humiliating now. I mean, he always was going to have a point to prove, but do you think he's given too much space to almost prove his point? I mean, you all know with footballers, they get a goal or have a moment. It's all about that confidence building off it. So should we allow Eze this space in the first place? He had the freedom of the park.
I mean, if it was anyone, it just had to be him. It almost seemed like the game was scripted in his favour. The defence was just nowhere to be seen. It was too easy, and Eze obviously broke his deadlock, got the second goal for the game, and we just made it too easy for him. There was no one like him. There was no one marking him. Vicario wasn't great for most of the goals in that game either. There was just no intent to fight back or show any sort of resilience. And that's where I think we really messed up yesterday.
Absolutely, 100%. Thank you for that. James, can I come back around to you again on that second goal? I mean, to be fair, it pays me to say because of the situation we saw in particular in the summer, and it is with any Arsenal player, but with Eze, I mean, he does do well, doesn't he, for this moment? I say he gets the freedom of the park. At the same time, there's a lot of Spurs players around him in the end, but no one can seem to stop him. So, to be fair, I think he does do well. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good fit. It's taken a little bit of a deflection, hasn't it? But he's hit it hard enough to... I think Vicario got a hand on it, didn't he? But he's hit it too hard and it's gone through him. I mean, I think Vicario's had a lot of unnecessary stick this season. I mean, I know at times he's a bit questionable and rash coming off his line and stuff, but in general, shot stopping, I think he's generally very good. And like I've already said, like when you've got that much pressure away from, like, how many saves can you expect a man to make? Like, it's not just all down to the goalkeeper. He's got 5 defenders in front of him, man mounting centre backs in front of him. And he's got us out of jail against Monaco. He's made lots of other saves this season. So, I'll be a bit harsh to pinpoint the goalkeeper for anything. But yeah, I mean, all of Eze's goals were great finishes, weren't they? So it's just, like we've just said, it had to be him. Didn't it? First hat trick against Spurs since 1978 or something ridiculous. So yeah. Don't know what else to say.
No, that's right. No, just frustrating, isn't it? Looking now, I mean, just listening to you, thinking, why have Tottenham allowed Eze to score 3 goals? But hey ho, it's over now. We can't change it. We've got to put it right. But it's not one of those games, though, is it? Where you can just go, look, let's move on to the next one. Okay, bad that the office move on because of how much the game means. That's the thing. It's not like anything else. Craig, for you, what do you make of Frank before the game? You're kind of going, who's Eze? I mean, it did seem funny at the time and all of this, but do you really, looking back, is that intelligent for an intelligent guy in Frank, really? That's just going to spur on the player. Mikel Arteta, I'm sure, would have shown Eze, or Eze's family would have showed him, and it's only going to encourage him more, isn't it?
Oh, I think it's a bit embarrassing, to be honest with you. I suppose looking back, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but to turn around and say that before the game, if we'd managed to lock him out and Eze had an absolute stinker, then he's well within his rights to say who's Eze. But that's just going to fire the player up, to be honest with you. So, I thought that was a bit. I'm not a great fan of that, to be honest with you. You should just keep quiet and let the players try and do the talking, so to speak. But, not too clever from Frank. I just want to come back. Actually, we're talking about Vicario there. Absolutely agree, 100%. Vicario has saved us more times than one this season. He's been. I thought I was going to be saying Kudus was our player of the season so far, but on the whole, when you look at it, I would say Vicario's well worth a shout for player of the season so far, because he's that performance against Monaco alone was unbelievable. We should have lost that game. Monaco absolutely battered us. I can't remember the lad's name in the middle, the young player, number 10, Akliouche, I think his name is.
Yeah, Akliouche,
absolutely ran the show. And if it wasn't for Vicario, that could have been a very different scoreline. And he saved us again and again. Like you say, Harry, he's been a bit rash in certain games and he's made some mistakes. But on the whole, he's played very well. And he wasn't at fault for any of those goals yesterday. I don't think Vicario really put a foot wrong yesterday. So didn't have a chance with any of them. And what was interesting, they wheel him out to do the after-game talk, apologising to the fans again for, not putting in the performance, blah, blah, blah. I just wonder where our captain is. Why isn't Romero coming out and speaking, Why are they sending Vicario out? I don't get it. There's a lot wrong at Spurs at the moment, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you can say that again. Absolutely. I think we can all be in agreement to some extent, at least, with that. Thank you, Craig, for that one. I mean, at half-time, Arsenal went in with that 2-0 lead, which prompted a change for Thomas Frank at half-time. On come Xavi Simons for Kevin Dance. So, I mean, James, just pop back to you for a second. I mean, it's fair to say that the whole back three, back five, whatever you want to call it, idea didn't go to plan.
No, it didn't. And like we said at the start, I mean, you don't blame him for doing that away at Arsenal. It's just, what's he then going to do with the midfield and the forward line? And, if you're going to play a back five, then get your fullbacks to, bomb forward when they can. Obviously not all the time, but, we know you doggy's very good at that. But I just think defensively sometimes there is a question mark there. Still a young player, but, is it the fourth goal where he just slips over and it's just an absolute disaster? It almost looked like we were watching Tottenham under Ange again, sort of imploded completely. But we had that little spark, that little glimmer of hope that we always seem to get with the Richarlison goal. But yeah, I don't know. I just think maybe 5 at the back is something we should be using in European games away from home. Not, Premier League games. It's much more suited against, a Spanish or Italian outfit. Not against, Arsenal. It's we're just going to, like I've already said, absorb more pressure, and there's only so much pressure you can take before one of those chances finally goes in.
100%. Thank you very much. And then disaster for Spurs at the start of the half, because Eberechi Eze made it a brace at the time in the 46th minute. Jurgen Timber with the assist. I mean, that's just extremely painful, isn't it, Wheelsy, to concede straight after the break? I mean, sometimes I don't know what's worse. You concede just before half-time or just after the break. It's just poor either way. But anyway, just for you, did that mean game over at that point with still 45 minutes left to play?
To be honest, I kind of knew it was over when the first goal was scored, because you could see that the crowd was spurring them on. They just had fire in their belly to keep going on, keep scoring goals, and that second goal pretty much put the game completely to bed. And I didn't really think there was a way back after that second goal was put in. But yeah, just an awful display in that first half.
It was really, really poor from Tottenham. Craig, I'll come back to you with this third goal from Eze. I mean, what do you make of it from a Tottenham point of view? Can we do better?
We can definitely do better. Again, bad defending, losing the ball, not playing. I mean, there was so many times we was just lumping the ball away. That was a bit frustrating. Look, I get it. I called for it last season more than a couple of times when trying to play out from the back doesn't always work. Get rid of it. I get that, but we seem to be doing it a hell of a lot, just lumping it upfield, and that would just give possession back to Arsenal. But that whole hat-trick sealing goal from Eze was a game down to not clearing our lines properly. And when you actually look at the freeze frame again of when the final ball is played to Eze, there's 2 or 3 players that could actually have actually received the ball and scored. Calafiori, I think, he got his arms in the air, screaming for the ball. So was Eze. There was somebody behind Eze. I can't remember who it was, but it was just a calamity of errors. And then, even before that, I thought the game was done, but that just kind of sealed the deal for me. And it was the fans were starting to leave. I know people that actually left the ground after that third one went in. So yeah, at least they didn't have far to go home.
Yeah, it's true. Get out before any celebrations seem to appear. So yeah, no, thank you, Craig. James, can I ask you about that? Do you agree with Craig there and his assessment of that third goal in terms of it just kind of did, in his words, seal the deal? Did you feel the same at the time? I mean, we're never going to score 3 goals, are we, in the second half? I think it'd be a struggle to score 1.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, straight after half time, it's a big blow because he's just brought Simmons on, and he hasn't really had a chance to do anything at all, really. I mean, I think there's a player there. I know he struggled to settle in. Got to give these players a bit of time. He's played in Germany. He's Dutch. I know physically maybe there needs to be improvement there, but it does remind me of Modric quite a bit in the way he moves with the ball and he dribbles, and I think he will come good. I'm hoping he'll come good, but yeah, that third goal was just a killer, really. And like I said, we had that glimmer of hope with Richarlison, but it was just a bit of a freak goal, really, wasn't it? Shades of the Bentley one in the 4-4, but yeah, just not enough, unfortunately. Just not good enough. Defending's not good enough. Craig mentioned, the captain should be coming out, Mamero, after games and apologising to the fans. He's got a good point there. I think Mamero's a very good player when things are going well, but when they're not, kind of spits his dummy out a little bit. And that we need more than that from a captain. There's passion there, and he's an aggressive player, but you've still got to, when things aren't going well, you've also got to, pick the boys up and get on with it.
You absolutely have. And James, I mean, you speak about goals there. I mean, this was an impressive goal coming from Tottenham, actually, through Richarlison. So I think this one is the one that will be kind of looked at. You get match of the day looking at what's the goal of the month. So for you, Richarlison, I mean, how well does he do here? Does that just show that what he is capable of? Maybe when he's in confidence and, maybe he doesn't think too much about it. Because I think Richarlison's a better instinct player.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. When he's got time to think, maybe that's when he just panics and he makes the wrong decision. I think his decision making is probably one of the things that lets him down. But just a bit of an enigma, isn't he? So frustrating. I mean, he gets that scissor kick against Burnley, that goal yesterday. He scored a scissor kick for Brazil in the World Cup in the past. He's adored at Everton, but I don't know. I just can't see him being the man. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes players just don't fit in at clubs, and I just can't see him getting enough goals. I know we've been spoilt with Kane and Son, but we need someone to be getting more goals. Simple as that, really. And Solanke's been out, but when's he back? Need him back, really, and we need someone to hit the ground running and get goals. Like Mawani came on yesterday and just didn't even notice him do anything, to be honest. I know he's got the old mask on, just like I don't know. We just need a bit more up front.
You certainly do. But there were changes from Spurs, a double one in the 66th minute on Con, as you said there, Rando Colomwani and Pat Matassar for Wilson Odobert and Rodrigo Bentancur, who made the way. Wheelsy, it's fair to say both of those players were ineffective. Odobert in an attacking sense, and Bentancur, I don't think it was one of his best games at all.
Yeah, agreeing with James there. I didn't even see Colomwani on like televised once. I don't think he did nothing to contribute towards the game. Neither did Odobert. We don't have enough attacking threat. Things need to be changed in January. We need new forwards because this is the joke right now. Van der Ven, our centre back, is our top goal scorer, so that just tells you all you need to know. And we just need to make major improvements in the January transfer window.
Certainly do. Thank you, Willsey. Then in the 70th minute, Christian Romero was booked, and goes back to what we were saying, and he was walking a tightrope from then. But I think I want a little bit of a discussion on this because he was booked for dissent. Craig, I'll come to you. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I do personally have a little bit of a problem with getting bookings from dissent that lead directly to suspensions because Romero is now suspended against Fulham. I get, we want to complain and you need passion and, kind of toughness, I suppose, in North London derby, but I'd much rather Romero do that for a clean tackle than moaning at someone and then getting suspended against Fulham. So do you have an issue with this or is it just one of those that's just unfortunate?
I agree that I hate it when players get booked for dissent. I mean, just talking about Tottenham now, I don't care about other teams, but if you're right, Harry, smash into somebody, as in the words of Roy Keane. If you're going to get a card, smash into somebody, do something. Don't just swear at the referee or whatever. It's pathetic. Dissent. I remember when I used to play football many years ago. If you got a card for dissent, it was almost like you had to pay an extra fee because my manager at the time hated players getting cards for dissent because it's avoidable. It's an avoidable thing. You're not controlling your emotions. So whatever he was doing, I don't know why he got the card for dissent. I don't know what he was saying. I don't know what he did. But especially the fact that we're now going to miss him against Fulham. I mean, it was always going to happen. He was always going to get that fifth yellow card before the 19th game. But, come on, we need everybody at the moment. It's all hands on deck, really. And for your captain to do that, I just think cards for dissent are avoidable, to be honest with you.
They are, and there's probably unlikely, but there's a possibility that he gets to 10. Again, I do stress, unlikely. But that's the thing. It's completely unnecessary. It's a burden on the team. We don't want him out for any game. And I get that. And he'll say, oh, yeah, Fulham's better than Newcastle. But at the same time, like with our home form, I mean, you could easily quite quickly push back on that. But thank you, Craig, for your quick thoughts on that one. But 76th minute, Eze rubbed salt into Tottenham's wounds and Thomas Frank's wounds after what he said pre-match to make it 4-1 to complete his hat-trick. I mean, James, I don't know about you. Coming into the game, I looked at Eze and thought, right, he's probably going to have a point to prove after what happened in the summer, especially Frank's comments, big game North London derby, and it hasn't really clicked for Eze so far. So in my head, I'm thinking he probably scores or he has a man of the match performance. Did you realistically ever consider the possibility of him scoring a hat-trick? Because I can't see him doing it again this season.
Yeah, not a hat-trick, but, it was kind of on the cards he was at least going to get one. Even from that third minute, he does that little scoop pass, doesn't he, to Rice for that shot in 3 minutes. Bloke's basically turned into Messi for the game, but maybe he's got too much space and time. But, Frank shouldn't have said those comments about him before. I didn't really pay too much notice to it, but shouldn't be saying something like that. Like Craig said, he's obviously fired him up. It's a North London derby. The whole transfer saga with us, obviously there was that as a narrative in the background as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a perfect day for him, isn't it? Like, I know quite a few Palace fans. My brother's a Palace fan, and obviously they were gutted that he left. But they just seem to think everything he touches turns to gold. Last season, he got goals at the right time for them. They won the FA Cup. And they just seem to... He sort of picks his moments in games. And, didn't expect him to get a hat-trick, but... that's why we should have pushed harder to maybe get that deal signed, sealed and delivered rather than waiting around and then he's gone somewhere else. But, if he's a gooner, then he can stay there. But, yeah, very good player. I'm saying through gritted teeth.
Yeah, it's difficult. Wheelsy, how do you feel about Eze played? I mean, it's probably the game of his life, and it did feel written, didn't it? Almost like written in the stars.
Yeah, when you asked me about the first goal that he scored, I said it was almost scripted because we was expecting him to score at least one goal, but 3 goals, you couldn't have predicted that in any game. And you know what? As a Spurs fan, fair play to him. We completely got outplayed, and I can say that he deserved that, considering what Frank said in that interview as well. Put fire in his belly, and that's stuff that should be said after the game. Let's say if we beat Arsenal and then we nutmeg Eze a few times, make him slip, just then that should be said. But before the game, never.
100%. I mean, it's just you never see that really before a game. It's a rare first. But 78th minute moving on, because don't talk about an Arsenal goal any longer than necessary. Manweke come on for Trossard. 78th minute double Spurs change. Porro and Johnson on for Kudus and Spence. 87th minute, Declan Rice was booked, and so was Porro in the 87th minute. And Porro, having only been on about 9 minutes, involved in that confrontation with Declan Rice. Then Arsenal making a double change, really. They knew it was done, bringing on Ethan Nwaneri and Mosquera, Fincape and Marino. I mean, Craig, it frustrates me to give Arsenal any credit. And let's be clear, I don't think the media talked about it enough, by the way, but both teams had a lot of injuries. But if we focus on one Arsenal player in Gabriel, there seemed to be some kind of concern that Arsenal could potentially struggle without him. But to be fair, I thought Hincapié come in. He didn't really notice, did you, that Gabriel was missing. I think a lot of that's also on Spurs' attack.
Yeah, that's the sad thing. Didn't even realise Gabriel was missing until about 3/4 of the way through the game, because the centre-backs, let's face it, didn't have anything to do. I'm not sure they even needed a shower after the game, to be honest with you. The whole defence, that first half, I did feel sorry for Richarlison. I'm not the biggest Richarlison fan. I think Wheelsy said, I think he's good for Everton. But, we should have seen the warning signs for Richarlison. He's never scored more than 13 goals in the Premier League season, so he's never going to be as prolific as Harry Kane or even Heung-min Son. So I can kind of get why we bought him at the time, to strengthen in a position of strength, something to have a backup to Harry Kane. But as soon as Richarlison became our main striker, I'm not sure it's ever going to work. He's never going to be as prolific. But I had to feel for him yesterday, because he was pressing. He was trying to do a lot of pressing, and nobody was following him. Nobody. Odegaard, terrible match yesterday. Kudus had a really quiet game. And then the midfield, it was just nothing in coming in behind him. So he didn't really have the opportunity to trouble Arsenal's backline. But you're spot on. Gabriel was not missed at all in any way, shape or form by Arsenal. They just steamrolled over us, and as I say, didn't get out third gear all game.
100%. Thank you. And to wrap it up, 92nd minute, Miles Lewis-Skelly come on for Ricardo Calafiori, and the game ended 4-1 to Arsenal. So not good. And of course, in terms of the table, I don't like to bring it up, it leaves Arsenal in first position with a 6-point lead over Chelsea. Perfect weekend for Arsenal in terms of City losing, Liverpool losing. So it couldn't have gone really any better for them, not only winning, but winning against us. And we now sit in 9th position with 18 points from 12 games. And we all knew how tight it was. And it still is tight, don't get me wrong. But even if you go within 3 points, which is achievable, we could find ourselves all the way in 14th, in one game quite quickly. So that's how tight it is. And it does also work the other way, though, to be fair. We've got 18 points, and Villa are 4th with 21. So anywhere between 4th, literally 10 positions, 4th and 14th is achievable in hindsight within one game. So it shows you it is still tight, and maybe no need to panic or reason to panic if you're worried about going further down. But let's talk Thomas Frank before we get into kind of the game even more. Can I start with you, James? Thomas Frank, where do you stand right now? Is he under a little bit of pressure? Of course, North London derby, I think it means so much, and no doubt about it. If you lose 4-1 to Arsenal, even if you're a fan's favourite, you're going to be under a little bit of pressure, or you're going to take some kind of scrutiny, aren't you, for it?
Yeah, of course. I just think he got it wrong, didn't he? He's tried to go with the right formation, the right tactics with 5 at the back, and it's just not worked. There's been other games where it has worked, like away to PSG in the Super Cup. It's gone 5 at the back, and we should have won that game. There's been other games where he has got it right, especially away from home. We've beaten Leeds 2-1. We beat City 3-0. And the double pivots worked, and no one's moaned because we won the game. So it's easy to be reactionary and say, yeah, Frank's got to go, he's useless. But it still is early days, in my opinion. Arsenal gave Arteta a lot more time to get it right, and look at them now. So, fingers crossed it comes good. But if we don't beat Fulham on Saturday night at home, then I think the pressure will start, because the home record's bad as it is. That away record's just been completely wiped out with that 4-1 defeat. So if you're going to carry on with bad results at home, especially, then the pressure will start, because that's just modern football. But fingers crossed he gets it right. I think he does need to change this whole playing Bentancur and Paulinho together, especially at home. Just needs to be more attacking, and start Tell. I think deserves to start. He showed that when he came in against United. And I think, Odegaard didn't play well yesterday, but, Odegaard needs to start more games as well. These attacking players need to be given more freedom, and hopefully we can get more goals through them.
Thank you. Craig, where do you stand on Thomas Frank after the Arsenal game?
I'm losing a bit of patience with him, if I'm brutally honest. I'm not in the Frank out camp yet. But things have got to change, Harry. Things have got to start getting better. A lot of fans will turn on Thomas Frank. I think if we don't get I think it's kind of expected that we're not going to do particularly well on Wednesday in the Champions League against PSG. That's a big ask for anybody. Us going through what we're going through at the moment, players out. So I think Fulham is going to be the real acid test, to be honest with you. If we don't get a win at Fulham, I think that could, the fan base could really turn. It could turn quite nasty. But I'm not being entertained watching this type of football. I'm really not. I'm sure most of the fan base are not. Why do you think people aren't turning up to the stadium? That stadium should be full for Champions League nights. We've been away for several years. So why are the tickets not being sold? Admittedly, it's the price of them. That's why I've not been going. If I take my family, that was like the last game was over £400 for the four of us to go and watch a game of football. I think it's disgusting, if I'm brutally honest. It's disgusting. The price, you're pricing families out of going to watch football matches. And when you're being served up what we're being served up, why should I pay £400 to go and watch that crap? So I'm not going to do it. And I think a lot of people are thinking the same. I've heard stories about people sitting in the stands playing games on their phone instead of actually watching the football, just taking phone calls, trying to book restaurants. This is going on at the stadium. It's happening. And people are just getting really bored and really fed up watching this type of football. Now, you can say all you want about Frank's made us more defensively solid. I agree to a degree he has. But we need to play better, more attractive football, because the fans will not take this for long. So in answer to your question, I'm not quite in the Frank out camp. Would I lose any sleep and start crying if they sacked him tomorrow? No, I wouldn't. I personally never thought Frank was a good fit for Spurs, and I'm kind of really trying to not like him, because I think he's a likable guy. I personally think he fits certain clubs, Thomas Frank, and I don't think he fits Tottenham. But I'm not in the Frank camp yet, because I'm not sure where we go if we do sack him.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate that and your honesty as well throughout that. Thank you. Wheelsy, I'll come to you. Look, I know you well. I think it's fair to say, and you know me well. I get the impression that you're not with the Thomas Frank kind of out conversation. Yeah, I get the feeling you are. You just facial expressions sum that up as well, that you are still completely behind him. Would you like to explain your thought process behind still, believing maybe in Frank, or giving him more time nonetheless?
Absolutely. If you saying me not being Frank out, you're completely right. It's too early to say if he's the right man or the wrong man to take us on. But I think scrutinising him now and putting him under pressure to get sacked 3 months into a Premier League job is too early. And I know it worked when we had Nuno at the wheel, and then we brought in Conte and we got Champions League football the same year. But that's not always going to guarantee you good results every single time. So I think the fans calling for Frank to be out now, they're just silly in my opinion. I think the Fulham game will, like Craig said, is a massive test to see where people's heads will be at with Frank. But for now, I think putting Frank under pressure, especially after a North London derby loss, him having 3 months under his belt and Arteta having set like 6 years under his belt, it's not a good comparison to say who the better club is. And I think most of the fans knew that we was going to have a tough test yesterday. So I think calling for Frank's head now is the complete wrong decision.
Totally agree with you. I think it's not needed right now, but I do get there's the conversation to be had about that moving forward, because I was, be honest with you, really want Thomas Frank at the club. And before we got Ange, I was, I don't say sad when we got Ange, but I didn't think it was the right appointment at the time, if I'm honest. And I did want Thomas Frank. And there's this narrative pushed at the moment, which I want to move into in terms of Frank isn't a big game manager. But at Brentford, well, his Brentford side I used to watch. It's the same when he's over in Denmark. It used to be only, if I'm being honest with you, when he first started his career, only the big games he'd win. And if you go watch his Brentford side and you ask any Brentford fan, they back their side more, their team more, playing Man City away than they would someone like Fulham at home, or let's not use the London rivals as an example, Wolves at home. Because they know that their bar will be and kind of stand will be raised. And Frank used to play his back five, and Tony Mbama up front. And they used to go to the Etihad 9 times out of 10, at least get something or show some fight. Their record against Man City was very good. Just to name, Man City, Chelsea, just to name a few. Liverpool wasn't bad either. So James, what do you make of the narrative being pushed as we speak right now by Spurs fans that Frank just isn't a big game manager? I don't think it's quite fair.
Yeah, I mean, it's not fair. I mean, you just can't really compare the two. Do you know what I mean? You can't really compare him managing at Brentford to Tottenham. It's just two completely different clubs, different jobs. I mean, no disrespect to Brentford, but he's now at a bigger club that are in the Champions League. So, when he's going away with Brentford at Man City, they're the underdog. There's no pressure. Whereas, a lot of these games with Tottenham, he's expected to win or at least do better. So, that's the difference straight away there. Also, what's concerning is that he also had a bit of a bad home record at Brentford, I saw. Can't remember the actual stats, but he only won sort of 3-18 or something. So that's quite worrying. Maybe, he plays better away from home under less pressure. But I just still think it's too early days to make any rash decisions. Okay, sack him, but then who do you bring in? Just the endless merry-go-round of managers who don't work. We've said it over and over before. We've had the best and they couldn't do it. So, Mourinho, Conte, they couldn't do it. So, who's going to come in and make a miracle? We got the UEFA Cup last season. We got a Europa League. That was amazing. Maybe a bit of a fluke, but they're the moments you look for in football. So, you never know whether Frank's going to produce, like a fluke FA Cup or something. Let's hope he does.
Yeah, I think we'd all take it nonetheless, however we feel about the manager, at least at the players at the moment. But big up to, got Tyro Drax in the comments. I mean, there's a load of comments I could read out. So big up to all of you firstly. These are the people that listen live on YouTube for people who are interested in listening after. But Tyro says, hello, boys. Firstly, massive congratulations to Harry on your award. Thank you. Massively deserved. As a Fulham fan, though, I'd like to know how you feel about Paulinho. Seen a lot of mixed reactions. And he goes on to say, and to add, my brother is a Spurs fan himself, and we talked about Frank. I asked if he'd sack him, and he said, no matter who you get in, the result will always be the same. Do you agree? Interesting. So let's go to his first question, where he says how he feel about Paulinho. Can I give that to you, Craig? How do you feel about Paulinho? Do you think he's been a big signing, an important one?
I do, actually. I think if you'd given Ange Postecoglou, Paulinho, I think we would have finished a lot higher in the league last year, actually, because he was the player that we've been missing. Look, it's easy to say Paulinho has dropped off, but the one time he pressed yesterday, he won the ball for Richarlison's goal, and he wasn't even supposed to be the one pressing, so he kind of broke the line almost to press for that. It was nearly halfway line, wasn't it? So he pressed and won the ball. That should have effectively been Bentancur. I think he's had some dodgy games, but on the whole, I've been quite pleased with Palhinha. A few people say that he's flattered to deceive, but he scored a couple of goals as well for Tottenham. But on the whole, I'd rather see Palhinha playing in the six than a Bentancur, for example. I think personally, questions need to be raised about Bentancur more than Palhinha. I know you're talking primarily about Palhinha, but of the two, I think that double pivot. Well, I think that's partly why it makes people a bit fed up. I was going to swear then, but I'll keep it as a family show, Harry. So
Thank you.
I think that probably what makes people peed off. Yeah, that double pivot, because it clearly didn't work yesterday.
Bentancur is such a shame because I really, really liked him when he first joined the club, and I think he was really important. And I remember under Antonio Conte, in my view, him and Harry Kane were just, them two just carried Spurs for so long under Conte, and it was a big part in us getting Champions League football. Kulusevski, don't get it wrong as well, come in and done really well, but that's Conte's second season, wasn't it? I remember losing 4-1 to Leicester. That game just went completely wrong because, well, we were winning at the time and Bentancur come off injured, and ever since then it was downhill, and I really don't think it's coincidence. And Bentancur's come back after what? Let's be honest with you, at least 2 injuries, maybe 3. Two really serious ones, as we know as well, one being through Matty Cash, unfortunately. But he come back and it just, for me, is a completely different player. There's no press. There's no like offensive output. Bentancur used to be this press-resistant midfielder who'd almost like be like, if you turn to look at midfield positions, Bentancur would be really attacking. He'd be the one to pinch the ball back to force a mistake. I think a lot of it is, and I want to get the panel's thoughts on this as well. We'll move into your second question, Tyro, in a minute. But do we think that Ange's come in and changed his game to a more safe possession, keep the ball type of player, whereas Conte was counter-attacking, look, be bold? I'll give that question to you, actually, James. Do you think Bentancur's whole game has changed? And do you think that is down to injuries, down to manager styles? What do you put it down to?
Yeah, he was. I agree with you, Harry. He was firing on all cylinders, wasn't he, before that knee injury? He come back and then he's got another one. And then was there a concussion in there somewhere as well? I mean, it's wretched luck. I mean, maybe it's the curse of Tottenham, but yeah, maybe now, with the 3 managers now he's played under at Tottenham, so it's just been a bit too stop-start for him. Still a very good player, but I also agree with Craig. Like maybe he should be, they should be looking at benching him and starting Paulina and maybe just giving him a bit of a break, so to speak. I don't know. He got sent off for Uruguay in the international break, picks up a lot of bookings. Maybe we should look at just having the one holding, the 1-6, so to speak. And at the moment, I would say that is Paulinho. He has impressed me this season so far. I want Bentancur to come good again, but the whole time he's being told to play a defensive midfield role, he's not going to be counter-attacking, like you say, like he did under Conte. It's a different role, isn't it? So maybe the shackles are on him a little bit and he needs to be released, but you need balance, don't you, in the midfield? So it's a tough one. But yeah, maybe we should be going with Paulina over Bentancur if we're going to play one of the two.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Moving back to Tyro's second question, where a reminder, he said no. His brother said to him, he asked about Frank, should you sack him? His brother replied by saying, no matter who you get in, the result will always be the same, and asked whether we agree. Wheelsy, can I give this to you? How do you feel? I mean, I think it's a very valid point. I mean, I think the problems lie deeper than Thomas Frank. Would you agree with that, or do you think that still, like, if you bring in someone like a Pep Guardiola, the results would change?
Yeah, I do agree with Tara's question. I reckon if we sacked, let's say, Frank today and then brought in a new manager, that manager then has to put forward his style of play, whether he plays defensively, attacking his philosophies in the game, if players should press or just sit back, and that will change the perception of players and how they perform on the pitch as well. So I reckon if we were to bring in a new manager tomorrow, I don't think it would set us on a good course for the rest of the season. But you never know, because it happened with when we sacked Nuno, when we brought Conte in, he performed much better than what Nuno did and got us Champions League football that same season. So it just depends, really.
Okay, thank you very much. Hope that answers okay for you, Tyro. I want to move into, before we get onto PSG, Frank's post-match comments, which I didn't think too much to. Well, I didn't think too much to at the time, but it's kind of blown up a little bit. So I'm going to find exactly what he did say. But some people weren't happy with Frank. I mean, pre-game, I don't think there was too much about what he said about Eze from Spurs fans until, of course, now we've lost the game and it doesn't look good. But it's a little bit concerning because Frank said after the game, I want to apologise to the fans. But it's fine. We're very disappointed and unhappy with the performance. Unhappy, I meant to say. Definitely still a lot to work on. I think it's all reasonable. But then he says, it's worth remembering that we finished 17th last season. I mean, of course, factually correct. And to give you an idea of how enraged or active, ultimately, the Spurs fan base are, for example, Spurs Express put this quote out, one of several pages. 1.5 million people have seen the post within 24 hours. Just to give you an idea, from one page, and apparently about 30 million across like a load of different pages. That's how people feel and are, about Thomas Frank, how bold maybe those comments are. Craig, can I come to you? Do you have a problem with it? Is it being blown out of proportion? I mean, is Frank really defending a little bit of what's happening, kind of reminding people of the situation of last season? But he doesn't mention that we won a European trophy.
No, exactly. Yeah, he skimmed over that. Look, I whenever you start a season, you don't start off in 17th. Everybody starts on a level playing field. So for him to say that, it sticks a bit. I'm not sure about that. He's starting his reign on the same points as Arsenal, City, Liverpool, wherever it is. So, yeah, we finished 17th last season, but we finished 17th for a reason last season. Like it if you don't, if you don't like it, but these are the facts. That Ange sacrificed our Premier League campaign. He said as much. He talked to the club about it. He sacrificed the Premier League and his own position and future at Tottenham Hotspur to win us a trophy. It was a hell of a gamble. It was a hell of a gamble because we could, if we'd lost that final, that would have been terrible. But we won it. So we won that European trophy. It got us into that Champions League. And I think half the problem for Frank is, apart from the injuries, is the fact that we're playing 2 games a week because of the Champions League. But that's what comes with top-level management. He's got to kind of juggle that. And it's not started off particularly well. I mean, we've got, 18 points now? At this stage, last season, we had 19. So it's only one more. It's not much better. But the season before, we had 26. So, you actually have to go back as far as the 19-20 season, which ironically was when around the time now that Pochettino got sacked, that we actually had less. And then you have to go back even further to 14-15 season to get this level of points where we are. So for him to say that, I get what he's saying. I do get what he's saying. He's making a point that we were bad last season. We all know that. It's time to try and change that and push us up the table. But that table's so tight, Harry. One loss or one defeat, you're either up there or you're down there. We could easily be well in the bottom half, to be honest, if we go on. The next 4 games are important. PSG, like I say, and then we've got Fulham. Is it Forest after that in the league, I think? Fulham and Forest at home. Those are key games for Thomas Frank.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, got Forest coming up. I think got Newcastle as well in there. Might be just after Fulham.
Yes.
Yeah, but you're right. Forest is coming up as well. Yeah, it's really tough games, whatever way you look at it. I mean, I would have said Forest. I mean, don't get me wrong, harder now. Sean Dyche's taken over, but I wouldn't have been like super worried. But then you go and see what they've done at Anfield, and I know a lot of that is self-inflicted wounds for Liverpool, but you still have to be bold and a good side to go there and win 3-0, whatever the state of Liverpool. James, before we move on from Thomas Frank and talk about a tiny couple of minor things for PSG, I do want to ask you about Frank's comments. How do you feel about them? Have you got anything to add to what Craig said? Because I think Craig put it quite well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to look too much into things. I mean, if anything, it probably shows he's a bit hurt. Do you know what I mean? His pride's a bit dented there. He's lost a big game, and he's just tried to defend himself with enough. We did finish 17th last season. It's be patient sort of thing. I mean, unfortunately, as fans, you don't have much patience, especially in the modern game. But I think he's just a bit, he's reminding us. It's not nice to hear, especially after a defeat like that. But I suppose if you put yourself in his shoes, you'd probably say something similar, wouldn't you, if you were the coach? But yeah, I mean, he just needs to start getting it right. It's as simple as that. Enough of the talking, enough of the comments. We've got some big home games coming up. We've got Fulham. Like I say, I think Brentford's in there as well. So, playing his old club, start of December, you've got to be more ruthless and just start attacking better phases, better transition defence to midfield. Get Xavi Simons on the ball and creating more, or someone creating more, and it just get goals. Like Wheelsy said, Van der Ven's a top goal scorer. Paulini's got a couple of goals. It's like we need goals from forwards.
Absolutely, we do need to step it up, and I think a lot of it comes to January. But 3 quick fire questions before we move on to PSG, in no particular order. James, I'll start with you. I mean, apologies to be the first one to put you on the spot. Well, you will be put on the spot because it's all slightly different. But what one word would you use to describe that Tottenham performance?
But the Arsenal performance
against Arsenal. That's, family friendly, as Craig put it earlier.
Pathetic.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I like that one. Pathetic. Nice. Wheelsy, what one word will you use? And I totally appreciate it'd be very similar. What one word, though, would you use to describe that result against Arsenal?
Spineless.
I like that. And Craig, I mean, ultimately you have the tougher question, because I do this every show, but I'm really going to be clutching at straws. Or I think you will be, to answer this. But what one positive do you take out of that game? I think this is going to be a real struggle.
One positive out of that game.
Yeah.
Harry, I genuinely can't think of one other than Richarlison's goal. You're right. I'll give it to Richarlison because I do give him a fair bit of stick, and it was a great finish. It was. He'll probably never score another one like that in his life. And I agree. When he's got time to think about it, when he's just instinctive, he tends to do actually a bit better with a bicycle kick or whatever. And yesterday's goal, it's just a shame it will probably get forgotten about because of it didn't mean anything. It really didn't mean anything. So. That's the only positive. And the fact Arsenal's tifo yesterday was absolutely dreadful again, but they won the match, so we can't even take the mickey out of that much, can we?
No, unfortunately we can't, which is a shame. But yeah, it weren't great at all, was it? Tell you what, Craig, I'll give you a nicer question. Well, it might not be, because it might lead into a longer answer and different branches. But for you, who takes responsibility for the struggles, ultimately, few struggles recently? Because I look at it and go, probably should be distributed. We love this blame game, don't we? As I think football fans, but also as Tottenham fans. Where does the blame lie for you in the new look board, Enid, hierarchy, the players, Thomas Frank? Because I think all of them really have to be held to account when you have a day like we did.
Well, Enid will turn around and say, let's talk about the Frank appointment first. Enid would turn around and say, that's not our appointment. It's actually a Daniel Levy appointment because Daniel Levy was still at the club. So they'll probably, even though he's their employee, essentially, they could easily they could easily push that away a bit. The manager has to take a huge responsibility on this because managers do. He set us up to play like that yesterday. He set us up with 5 at the back. He set us up with Paulinho and Bentancur in the middle. He set us up by dropping Xavi Simons. He set us up by telling the players what to do. Now, whether the players actually did what he asked them to do, I wish a reporter would ask him that question, actually. Whether they actually asked, did the players carry out your instructions to the letter? And if the answer is no, then why didn't they do it? Because they should be doing exactly what the manager tells them to do, whether they think it's right or not. However, the players have to take responsibility as well. This is a North London derby. Apparently, they all know how important this game is to the fans, or if they don't know, they should know. They should know the history and everything. And they should put up a fight. They should show a bit of passion. They should show that it actually means something to him. To be fair to Xavi Simons, he looked really fed up after the game. You can tell he was hurting. And he may well have been hurting the fact he was dropped, or the fact about the game. I think it was about the game. Looked really, really fed up. Too many players don't look like that. only Thomas Frank, to be fair to him, came over and clapped the fans. I think Porro was slightly behind him, but none of them came really, really close to the fans to clap the away fans. And it ultimately led with Frank apologising again to the fans. I mean, I think we're all a bit sick of that. You know, how many times did Sonny have to come out last season and apologise again and again and again about performances? So is this something that's endemic in the club? Is it an attitude problem? Is it something that needs a complete change? I don't know how is the answer to that one. But all I'd say about ENIC is they've got to put their money where their mouth is now. They're saying they're in it for the long haul. They're saying that they're going to pump money into the club, this £100 million. It's not going to touch the sides, by the way, let me tell you, 100 million, because not all of that is going to go to player purchases. But if they do, they're going to have to start buying us ready-made, ready for the Premiership players, like a Semenyo, for example, you know, somebody who's been there and done it. If they don't, then they've failed. And if they don't want to do that, then they need to sell the club and let somebody come in who is willing to pump the money in. Because make no bones about it, we are so far behind Arsenal. It's scary. We need money spent on this team. It is about money. I hate talking about money in football. I think money has killed football to a degree. But if you want to get on and you want to progress, that is what you're going to have to do, is spend the money on the right players.
100%. Well said, Craig. I just want to say quickly for me, to be honest with you, I think all that we see right now with the whole thing of a new look board and ENIC, I do unfortunately deep down believe it's a PR stunt. I really do. I think it's an opportunity for ENIC to get one more opportunity. And I'd say if they're so desired and so hungry for success, where's that been in the previous 2 decades? Where has this all of a sudden come from? What's changed and why? That would be my questions, if I'm honest with you. So absolutely zero trust as far as I'm concerned. I get that we all moan more after a defeat, but I think we just got to be clear. You know, ENIC have got to, as you said, you put it absolutely spot on, money where the mouth is. You know, stop talking, you know, stop all these false promises and the words like we heard under Daniel Levy, and just, I'd rather than be quiet and get the job done. We only need Daniel Levy to talk to the fans, because he didn't do at times a great job with on the pitch. So I think now is, you know, time to stop and to get on with the job, be bigger, be bolder, and also go quicker in the transfer windows. We go quicker, we get Eze, for example. I know we absolutely don't want him now, but someone like that, or Savinha, we get in the door a lot quicker. Bolder, we go for bigger players as well, and just bigger, go for, also links in with a bigger name. So fingers crossed to January. We've got plenty of stuff coming up for the January window, so let's not even go there, Ray. But PSG then, because life and football moves on very, very quickly. 2 games a week now, pretty much, straight running from now to Christmas, because no international break till March, and literally it is 2 games a week. You'd have to go to, I think it's the 17th of January at the top of my head, something like that. I just know in terms of planning content where there isn't 2 games a week. I mean, Wheelsy, you'll know, we're planning stuff already, aren't we? But PSG then, I'll tell you what, we'll start with you, Wheelsy. I mean, how do you feel about it? Apart from me, I just feel completely terrified. Do you feel any different?
I mean, just after going to Arsenal, we then got to go to France to play one of the best teams in Europe. It just doesn't get any easier. It doesn't get harder than that, if I'm honest. And I'm not really confident going into the game. I know we had them for the Super Cup final where we played a 5-back and we generally did pretty well for 85 minutes of the game, and then it all just capitulated at the end. But I think, considering how Marseille are doing better than PSG this season, I reckon we can give them a run for their money. But that's just me being optimistic, and everyone who knows me knows that I like to put a positive spin on things more than being negative. So I reckon we might do all right.
Hopefully, Joe. I hope you're right. You're extremely optimistic, I must say. We're saying that, but thank you, James. I'll come to you. PSG. I mean, what are you thinking, and how important is the game? Is it maybe not as much because we aren't expected to get anything, but could it be a potential redemption for Spurs players and Thomas Frank? Because I don't know about you, but I'd actually back us more a little bit. It sounds stupid, but PSG against Fulham, I just, you know, Tottenham, not just maybe Frank, but a Tottenham thing to go and get a result where we don't expect, and then Fulham where we expect a little bit more to not go and get it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. I mean, it's going to be a very difficult evening, isn't it? I mean, if Monaco battered us, you know, away from home, then what are PSG going to do? European champions. But, you know, like Wheelsy said, it's always got to be optimistic sometimes, that little bit of hope. we did give them a run for their money in the Super Cup. I know it was a neutral venue, and they didn't have much of a break, blah blah blah. But you just never know, and maybe at the moment we're better, in cup competitions, in European competitions, and we are in the league. It was very much the same last season in the Europa League, so why not the same again this season? Fulham's obviously very important still on Saturday, but I mean, this is what football's all about, isn't it? Wednesday night under the lights, playing the European champions in the Champions League. It could be worse, couldn't it? As long as we don't get battered again. I mean, that's it's a magical night, isn't it? To hear that Champions League music, and it's a bit disappointing that Tell isn't in the Champions League squad. I think because he didn't even appear on Sunday, so Richarlison's got to come out and do it all again, really, hasn't he? I mean, maybe he should be benched Saturday and Tell should start. But again, like these are the problems Frank's got, and it's not easy. It's very easy to say he doesn't know his best team, but anyway, he probably doesn't. And the injuries don't help, and all the rest of it. So I'm rambling a bit, but just to say, tomorrow. I mean, I'm looking forward to Wednesday. It's a big game in the Champions League, so we've earned the right to be there. We've won the Europa League, and there's no reason why we can't get a result there.
Okay, no, I think that's fair to say. Thank you, James. Craig, for you, what is more important? Because there's been a little bit of discussion today on X for those that have already moved on, which isn't a few. Isn't many at all, I should say, from Arsenal, but some already just saying that, this game, don't get me wrong, means something, but not as much because we aren't expected to get a result. You spoke about it earlier. So for you, is it just like one of those games where, unfortunately, it could be damage limitation or anything we get, let's say a draw, is a real positive if we can get it?
I think it's a free hit to a degree, and I do apologise if I've come across a negative on this podcast. It's just I've not got much positive to say on Spurs at the moment, and I'm just being honest. To be honest with you, and look, PSG breezed past Le Havre at the weekend 3-0. They rested a fair few players. I think that I can never pronounce his name. If one of you guys can, Kvaratskhelia or whatever,
the Georgian.
Yeah. He's one we were linked with, along with Half the Planet. I know we're linked with Half the Planet on social media, but we were linked with him before he went PSG. And my God, what a player he is! He's the one. Ousmane Dembele, obviously. Look, they've got a whole array of stars that could tear us apart whenever they want to. Him, though, I think he's going to give whoever is playing a torrid time. I think this is a free hit. This is just me, and I hate to say it, I personally can't see any way, shape or form we get anything out of this game against PSG. I just can't see it. My heart obviously will always go with a Tottenham win, but my head is saying there is no way we even lay a glove on PSG. I think we'll probably get a few more chances against PSG than Arsenal, but I think ultimately PSG will come out winners. But for me, it's the Fulham game at the weekend. That is where the fans, at our home, that is what we need to make a fortress, and we are nowhere near becoming a fortress at that place. We need to start winning at home. As I say, though, PSG Wednesday, I think that's a free hit. If we get something out of the game, fantastic. I think that will be somehow. I think it's one of those games where if we can get anything out of it, I don't really care how we play to a degree. If we come away with a point, great, But personally, I can't see it. I'm really sorry to say.
No, it's all right. And Craig, stick with you if you don't mind. Any changes that you'd make from Arsenal to PSG? I'm sure you'll be keen to make at least a few after what we just saw.
Like you, funny enough, I would. I'm not the biggest fan of Matisse Tell, but I think he showed enough in the Manchester United game that he warranted a start. Really surprised that he didn't get one at Arsenal, to be honest with you. I think if he was in the squad, he would be playing. I would like to see Callum Awani come in, to be honest with you. I think you have to stick with Odegaard. Brendan Johnson just not had the opportunities. But, a lot of people would give Brendan Johnson, he's not the favourite player in the squad. I think Brendan Johnson could score 20 goals in a season and he still wouldn't be doing enough. Right, for some people. And I do get that. I do see things in his game that I like, but I see things in his game that I don't like. So out of the two, I'd probably be going for Odegaard just to give us a bit more something. He can run with the ball at players, so I'd probably go with Odegaard. Kudos has to start for me. I would certainly bring in Lucas Bergvall into the middle at the expense of Bentancur. And I think you have to go with Paulinho. The back four, Porro probably comes back in. And I think the rest of the team more or less picks itself. But yeah, that's what I'd probably like to see. But as I say, whoever he brings in, they're going to have a tough night.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Wheelsy, how do you feel in terms of lineup? What do you think that Thomas Frank will do? Because he's bound to change some things. He'll be forced into, I'm sure, some bits through injuries and maybe a little bit of fatigue more likely. But any predictions in terms of how many changes he'll make?
I do think he'll run a 5-back again, similar to what he did with Arsenal and against PSG in the Super Cup final, being the 3 centre-backs and the 2 wing-backs. I don't think there'll be many changes across the lineup itself. I would like to see Bergvall in there. He's quite creative, and we didn't have that creativity in that Arsenal game, so that would be one player I would switch out, probably for Bentancur, keep Paulinho in the squad. And if, again, agreeing with the panel, if Tell was in the European squad, he would definitely get a spot as that number 9 starting. But other than that, I wouldn't make too many changes because I think that was one of the best squads that we could have put out on last night, but it just didn't go our way because Arsenal are that much better than us, unfortunately.
100%. Thank you. James, have you got anything to say about lineup, maybe what you'd want to see?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the other lads. I think Mawani might be better suited to play, European style football anyway. It's against his old club as well, so he's probably got a point to prove. So yeah, maybe that could be a better option than Richarlison, or unless you play both of them together. Again, I don't really know what the best answer is at the moment. But yeah, definitely bring Bergvall back in for a bit of creativity. But then if you do that, can you play Simmons as well in the same starting 11? So it's a tough thing for Frank to get that balance and to get that right. But that's why he's paid the big bucks.
It's exactly why he's paid the big bucks. So yeah, hopefully we get that decision right. I was talking then, I can mute myself as I was going along. Not ideal. Wish sometimes we could mute, Thomas Frank after that game. But hey ho, let's go on to score predictions then. Wheelsy, we'll start with you. I mean, this could be quite a pain in the bum, but what do you think the score will be and your score predictions?
Listen,
your scorers, sorry.
I'm never going to publicly say I'm going to predict my team to lose. In my head, I might say we don't have a chance. But I will sit here and tell you that we're going to draw this game, and I'm going to say it's going to be another repeat. It's going to be a 2-2.
I'll get in. Who's scoring the goals for you, at least for Spurs?
Van der Ven for one, because I don't see any goals coming from the attackers. And maybe a cheap set piece magic from, I don't know, Romero. Two of the defenders in there.
Love it.
Again,
we might as well just have an attack at this rate. We're relying on, Van der Ven, Paulinho, all these type of players to chip in. Yeah. So I like that they are. I credit to the likes of Van der Ven, but also it's the attack. Come on, you've got to do a lot better. Craig, going to come to you because I've got a feeling you are going to predict us to lose. I think you're honest tonight, and I appreciate that. It's about honesty. Honesty is literally the best policy, and I do absolutely back that up on the podcast. You've been honest, you've vented your views. That's what the podcast is for. But what is your score prediction, and who do you think is going to score?
You are correct, Mr. Scarfe. Yes. Sadly, I think we're going to lose. I did predict 3-1 to Arsenal, so I was a bit off with that. I'm going to go with 3-1 to PSG again. Sadly, really sorry to say. I think we might celebrate though, because Kevin Danso might actually take a throw in after 1 minute rather than waiting for 5 minutes for him to clean the ball, adjust his shirt, and then everybody to line up for them to just clear it away with a header. So I think we probably get a couple of long throws into the box that perhaps might meet one of them. I just realised I must sound really miserable, so I do apologise to the audience, but I haven't got much positivity. I perhaps should try and take some happy pills or something. But yeah, sorry, Harry. 3-1 to PSG. Sorry.
That's all right. Again, it's just I love the honesty, but it's true. It's no good be and I've done it before. You sit here and go, well, it's not the end of the world. Well, we've just lost 4-1 to our biggest rivals, and we could and should have probably lost by more. So, absolutely reason for concern. James, what are we thinking? Score prediction.
I mean, Wheelsy and Craig have both got good points. With my head, I'm probably sort of the same as Craig, but I like Wheelsy's mantra of just trying to stay positive and publicly not say we're going to lose on a. I mean, yeah, I'll go 1-1. I'll go 1-1. Let's get a late equaliser for a penalty or something. 90th
Lovely.
minute.
I hope I'm wrong, by the way. I really hope I'm wrong. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But
yeah, I don't think we're going to do well, but you never know.
James, I'll come to you because something's just been brought up about, Wilson mentioned it and you mentioned it there in terms of how we score our goal. Do you think that we are relying too much on set pieces? Of course, you should utilise them. How awful were we offensively and defensively from set pieces last year? Definitely a lot better. I mean, not as much now, but still we've been better under Frank. But do you think we're just relying on it too much? Because if you take set pieces out the game and you take Van der Ven out the game, are we ever really going to score?
I think, in football, when something's popular, it gets talked about a lot in the media and now obviously on socials and stuff as well. So, I mean, if it's going to give you an advantage, then great, but don't solely rely on your set piece chances. I mean, you still got to play football and create chances, which is what we're struggling to do. The set piece thing, great. If we're going to create more goals or get more goals from them than we did previously, then that's great. But don't focus too much on one thing. I mean, I'm not a coach. I'm a scout. I'm not a coach. So, if it's going to give us the advantage in certain moments of the game, then great. But I think there's too much emphasis being put on the whole set piece thing. And, when Vicario's taking those free kicks, trying to launch them into the box and stuff in that first half against Arsenal, it's just a bit like, I don't think it's the right way. But, that being said, if Danzo lobs a long throw in Wednesday night and we get a flick on and a goal, I'm not going to complain, am I, from a long throw? So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, need you on board as a scout of Tottenham. But having said that, I'm not sure you'd be listened to because I don't know if anyone is kind of listened to. I'm sure you could identify all these players, top players that are younger, and then you probably go, no, we prefer his brother, or we prefer him. He's half the price. But yeah. I like the idea of having you on board. So the club, if you're listening, take that up. Thank you, James. Wheelsy, can I end with you with a final question? It's a little bit off topic, but I'll give it to you because it is from a fellow Alex who says, how would you guys, as the panel, feel about signing like Mateta to replace Richarlison? I mean, no disrespect to Richarlison. Great goal against Arsenal. Really happy for him. Love his fight and all that. But I'm sorry, chalk and cheese with the quality.
I mean, when you sent out that video for everyone to collaborate with and give their thoughts, I said we should be buying either Antoine Semenyo or Jean-Philippe Mateta to bring into the squad. Okay. And I completely agree with Alex here. We should be buying someone like Mateta to fill the boots of Richarlison. We don't have a complete number 9. We need someone that can poach goals from any angle, and we need someone that we can rely on as a prominent goal scorer, just like we did with Harry Kane. And right now at Tottenham, we're not getting that. So bringing in someone like Mateta would fix those problems, in my opinion.
But Willsy, is Solanke that man, though? Frank's all about balls in the box. We haven't seen it enough, but I just think he could really suit Thomas Frank's style.
Question is, well, where is Solanke? Because until now, I forgot that he even existed. I haven't seen him in months. So unless Solanke comes back for the PSG game by miracle, I would be thinking, if I was part of the board, I'd be thinking to bring in some new forwards.
That's absolutely fair. Thank you. We got any final comments from anyone before we do wrap up?
Well, no. I don't think so. Other than you're talking about striker there, Wheelsy. Personally, I'd just give it a go with Harry Kane. Honestly, in January, I'd go and test Bayern's resolve. Kane might not want to come back, and I wouldn't blame him for 1 second if he didn't want to come back. But if you want to show ambition, these are the sort of players you've got to go after. Regardless of people say, Kane will never come back. Offer him the money, put in the bid for whatever his release clause is, 65 million, and then see where it goes. At least you've tried. And I think that's what it comes down to for me for yesterday. And again, in the Chelsea game and the games that we've lost this season, just try. The fans will get behind the team if they're trying. You know, the fans really loved Soldado. He was useless for Spurs, but the fans loved him. The fans loved Vincent Janssen because he tried. You know, the fans got behind him. The fans can get behind it if they can see a clear plan and they can see the players trying. I'm sure they do care. It sometimes looks like they don't, but I'm sure they do. You know, it's going to hurt them when we lose, especially to Arsenal, because they know they're going to get stick off the fans apart from anything else. But just show that it actually means something to you. And just like, again, I'll say it, Roy Keane said, smash into somebody. Do you know what I mean? That one tackle sometimes can get the whole team going. I've played football. We all have. You know what it's like. Somebody smashes into somebody or does a tackle, puts it across, whatever it is, shows a bit of ambition and everybody else follows, and get that crowd behind you and get Tottenham ticking again, because that's what we need. It's so stagnant, so sterile at the moment. And, you know, he's going to rest heavily on Thomas Frank's shoulders. He looks like he's aged about 20 years already. And that's what Spurs does to you. He's been here 4 months and he looks about 90. So something's got to change.
You're absolutely right. No, you're right there. And I think the body language was an issue yesterday. If you look at a couple of Arsenal goals they scored with hands on hips, I get it, probably frustrated, but a lot of it is watching the Arsenal celebrations. And is that of hurt, or is it just of like, oh, come on, what are we doing here? Or I don't know. It just, for me, body language is a little bit of a problem, I think. And you have the whole thing with Spencer Van der Ven. Yes, it probably shows they cares, but also I think it shows there isn't that level of respect for me anyway, for the manager, but most importantly for the fans. And that for me is a whole problem. You can't get the fans on board if you don't respect them or even appreciate they're there. That's just for me. But I think that wraps up nicely for this episode. We're keen to get it out of the way, but I think we put across some really good points and engaged well with the chat. So thank you very much. That is your Arsenal match reaction and match analysis as well. Podcast and PSG preview, all under an hour and a half. So I'm very, very happy with that. Thank you to everyone who's listened via audio podcast platform. Let us know where you've listened from. To those listening live on YouTube or after on YouTube, thank you very much. Of course, if you listen live, a lot of you get comments in, and I can say this is, the most comments we've had for a little while. So thank you very much. And a big thanks to my 3 fantastic guests today. Firstly, Wheelsy, almost like partner in crime. Thank you very much for coming on. Where can people find you and talk to people what you do for me, for the channel, but also away from that for yourself, for the wonderful Everything Spurs?
Thank you for having me back on, Harry. So always a pleasure. And you can find me on social media at Mr. Alex Wheelsy. I post videos of me spinning around in my wheelchair if you haven't seen it. It's quite entertaining to the masses, but it was quite bittersweet yesterday doing it because I posted it like 20 minutes before the game kicks off, and we all know how that went. So that's what I do. I also run a Discord server called Everything Spurs. I've linked the link for it in chat if Harry brings it up on the banner, just so you can see how to connect to it. And if you're listening on podcast, it's discord.gg/COYS on your web browser. So join me and 10,000 other Spurs fans. And I also, not stopping there, I also do thumbnails for Harry. I sometimes edit his videos. I made his channel intro. And basically, as Harry said, I'm his partner in crime. So I do a lot for this channel and I'm proud of it. So thank you for having me on, Harry.
Thank you. Proud to have you. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Wheelsy. Annoyingly, it's not letting me show the link, but I'll absolutely put it on X and in the YouTube description if it isn't already. So go check it out. It's Everything Spurs on Discord and Mr. Alex Wheelsy. Thank you very much. You do an awful lot. Thank you. And look forward to chatting to you after as well with content plans. And Craig, thank you so much. It's been a little while and I do apologise about the circumstances. If you don't come back on, like you said, Harry Cave, it's not going to return. I can completely understand why and not hold you to account. But where can people follow you?
Yeah, at Demon9 on X if you want to follow me personally. But you can always find me at the Spurs Chat Podcast. Do a lot of videos for Chris Cowlin, Spurs Chat Podcast and Tottenham News on YouTube. We do after show podcasts, pre-show podcasts. I'm sure you'll know, fan shows and everything. So covering everything Tottenham related. I'm a bit Tottenham worn out, I must be honest, Harry. It's been a struggle, but I'm glad to have some more. It's been a bit cathartic tonight again. So yeah, I'm going to relax after this and go and watch I'm a Celebrity or something like that, I think, just to forget Spurs for a little while. But thank you very much for having me on.
Do not blame you at all. Absolutely. Enjoy it. And I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, Craig.
No
Go
worries.
check him out. And of course, the Spurs Chat podcast, which used to go on quite a bit. And James, thank you so much for coming on. Already becoming a little bit of a channel regular. And it's been great to do a lot of stuff with you. Talk to people, A, where they can find you across all socials, but B, the amazing stuff you do with scouting, because you do a lot more than I think you shout about. I think you don't give yourself enough credit for the great stuff you do.
Thanks, Harry. Appreciate that. And yeah, thanks for having me back on. So yeah, on socials, I'm just at Pastilio on X and Instagram. Also got at JPP Writing on X. But I mainly use LinkedIn now, to be honest, to post most of my stuff. So I'm a first team under 21 and opposition scout for Harrogate Town. They're in League Two. So I was at Gillingham Barnet on Saturday, just looking at Barnet for them because they're playing Barnet next week. So I just wrote a report over the weekend for them. So, and that's been passed on to the management team. They were quite happy with it, which is quite nice feedback. But I've also wrote a series of articles called Diary of a Scout, just basically and not, some of it's not too exciting, but it's just, how I got into it and, what it's like on a day-to-day basis. They're on a website called hooligan-soccer.com. They kindly gave me a platform to put them up. I've actually self-published the first volume, which you can get on Amazon as an ebook. So they're on there. And I do Tottenham articles for Hooligan Soccer as well. So if anyone wants to read my ramblings about Spurs, that's also on the Hooligan Soccer website. You can find my name on there under Culture and under Spurs and Premier League.
You're a busy man. Thank you very much, James, for your time as well. Really do appreciate it. It's been a big one. I mean, guys probably sick of me, but if you want to follow me, well, I don't know why you would, you can follow me at Harry Scarfe 22 across all socials. Again, thank you for all the support recently. It's been a crazy, probably dragging it a few days, I should say, rather than working out the hours. Absolutely crazy to Leeds and back, and wouldn't have it any other way. Traffic was awful and ended up being like a 10-hour all-round trip. But again, it was absolutely fantastic. And what an experience, and so many amazing people as well. And to connect with, just to give you a couple of names already, like big people, like it would be Cal the Dragon, or you got that United Strand, who's very big at the moment, for not cutting his hair until United win 5 games, Mark Goldbridge, and other people like that. So honestly, a great day and really, really unexpected. And I, you know me, I'm ambitious and stuff like that, and I always have, this is my goal for the year, and it was the goal, but didn't think it would happen. So thank you very much to everyone who made that possible. And you three are absolutely a big part of it for coming on. Everyone who's listened, everyone who's been on my podcast and supported me, voted for me, nominated me, watched the content in 2025, because about 82% of the whole channel views since existence has come in 2025. That for me is a classic example of real growth. So thank you for making that possible. I really hope you enjoyed today's podcast. And the last thing from me to say is a massive come on you Spurs. Thank you to everyone, and you'll be hearing from me very shortly.
Just like a song